Hey y'all, Tommy Post here. Today's video is volume number 4 of the Micro Pig Evolution. Some of you guys that like to off-road maybe have those little import deals like the Geo Tracker, Chevy Tracker, little Suzuki Samurais, Vitaras. It's kind of a thing anymore. If you see my other videos, I've already touched on that. It's kind of an economy four-wheel drive that is really quite capable. I've been working on the Micro Pig, which is a 2002 Kia Sportage convertible. Now that's a little two-door dealie with a soft top on the back, kind of like a Jeep Wrangler, but not. But the only problem with it is it has absolutely no storage space. If you look in the back, I mean, if you've got one, even the little two-door trackers with the convertible back half, you know that there's just no room back there. You can barely fit a cooler if you're lucky. So if you want to spend a day out at the mountain property, go down by the lake, you can't bring any folding chairs. If you can, it's just a couple. You certainly can't take the folding chairs and a cooler because it's not fitting in the back storage area behind the back seat. Of course, you can always make the kids stay home and put everything there, put the seats down, and put it all behind you, but who wants to do that? It's a family thing. So anyhow, today's video is about taking a risk and putting one of those awesome off-road roof racks on top of a Kia Sportage convertible. Well, those little rascals don't have anything on top. They don't have any rails down the sides where there was anything, that was factory. So really what you have is just a little tiny top. It's about 30 inches, and then the soft top begins. So what do? Well, take some ingenuity, and for me, even though my Kia is in extremely good shape, I'm not afraid to cut it. I'm not afraid to drill it. I'm not afraid to take chances because I bought it to use it. We like to take this thing down miles and miles of really crappy logging roads and mud pits and water crossings and stuff like that. So if you're going to put it in the garage and worship it, or if you're going to put a million light bars on it and winch and all that junk, but it doesn't even have a speck of dirt on it, you're not an off-roader. So don't be afraid to cut and drill. So I'm going to get to it, and I'm going to take you around the roof rack installation on this Kia. So there's the Micro Piggy. And that's its next evolution. Now, everything's mounted up, but it's not 100% finished project either, because there's some weak spots. I mean, like with anything, you start with something and then you come up with the ways that, make it a little bit better, or you figure out the issues that you had with your installation. So the idea with this is usually the smaller roof racks are at minimum 36 by 36, but you can't fit crap in a 36 by 36. So I went with a more standardized version of a 48 by 40. Now the 40, I wanted the wider stance because if you look at the roof of this thing, it has no areas where there were rails already. So you can already tell I drilled right through. Well, if you get it wide, get it out as far as you can to the sides, that's where the sheet metal starts to double up. So it's thinner in the middle, with one layer of sheet metal, and then as it gets folded toward the sides, and that's also part of the protection if you roll the vehicle, which isn't much. These things have crappy roll ratings, but so the idea, get it as wide as you can, like that. Now in the back, right in this area here, where it goes up and over, that's where the thickest metal is. It really is. It's double folded metal. It's got extra welds. It's got all kinds of stuff up inside this area. So that's the drill point for the back of the rail. These rails I had to make. 1.25 inch thin gauge steel square tubing. So the idea with that is to cantilever it. Let the majority of the front be supported by this roof. and the very little bit that's left in the back, cantilever over the back. Most of everything that you put in, it's going to go right up in this area anyway. A little bit sticking over the back. You'd have to put a ton of weight in the far back to bend this down and basically rip this right out of the roof of the car. I don't see it happening. Most of what I need is, like I said, folding chairs, maybe a little cooler, my Max Tracks. Max Tracks have to stuff in right underneath the bottom here and here. So I lifted that up with these square rails, giving myself room to slide the Max Tracks in there. And they also will help because they'll fit in there tight. For if you put extra weight there, it can help distribute it throughout the roof of the car. So I do know that this thing needs a little bit more reinforcement. It does. But you have to start with something, and you have to work out the kinks. So if anybody has any suggestions, working with what you already see, that might strengthen it up. Now, I just don't want to do an exoskeleton. I don't want to pay the money for it. I don't feel that I really need it. It's not, I think it would be overkill for what I need. This is a light duty usage up here. But if you have any suggestions on how you would strengthen it up, especially in the roof system, by all means, comment right down below. And of course, I always appreciate any likes and subscriptions. I don't do this because I'm looking for any endorsements from YouTube. I do this just because I love off-roading and I love archery. So when I do my archery videos, it's because I love archery. Well, I love off-roading. So this is the idea. What we have here, these came with the roof rack. And it's just a little plastic pedestal. It's got a spacing for bolts, and it's got a little wrap, steel wrap that goes over the top. And what it does is it just grabs a hold of two of the cross rails and ties it all together and gives you a pedestal mount. You can move these. You can choose which location on your rack you want to put them. So I wanted to spread mine out, but as you can see, most of my roof rack is on the front, supported by the car. So back here, I used a 5/16 bolt. 5/16 drilled straight through. You don't need more than that. I mean, you're not trying to lift the car by this. You're just trying to make something to keep it from sliding side by side or side to side. And, you know, it's really the weight on top of it is more of a concern than this particular bolt. The sheer strength of this bolt would rip through this roof before it would ever break that bolt. So I chose a 5/16. I drilled right through my square box tubing after choosing my locations. Went right on through the double laminated steel in here till it literally popped through my headliner. It's an off-road vehicle. I don't give two shakes about the headliner having a hole in it. So that's what I have. And what we've got inside there is we've got a big old fender washer. We've got a nylon washer up above it. And then we've got a neoprene seal underneath it. That's all Ace Hardware stuff. You can buy that. Will it leak? I don't know. I guess first time I get it in the rain, I'll see if there's any drops there, but you address it as you go. May have to put a little silicone around there. May have to go on the inside, dress up, you know, the bolt in the washer or the nut in the washer that's on the inside, but that's okay. In the front, now because this thing is rounded, it's not straight. If it had a back half like a true SUV, it would be more back there and it would be straight. Well, it's not. It's not too bad though. You just take a piece of PVC pipe like this and you keep experimenting with little cuts. You measure from here to here, and then you cut one at maybe 6 degrees and square, slip it in there and see what it does. If it's still not touching flat on the top and turned just right to have the miter point this way a little bit. If you can't find a square spot, try a different angle. Try 7 degrees, 8 degrees. I think these are at 8 degrees. But it works great. You slide it right into place. You turn it just right so that the longest point points this way. So you get square on the top, and then it's angled on the roof here. Same deal. but that shim, that spacer, PVC painted black, goes here. So you got your little nylon, big fender washer, spacer, fender washer, and a neoprene. If this thing leaks, I'm probably going to end up painting the whole roof of this thing and this whole base system with like bed liner anyway, because sliding the Max Tracks up in here, I'm going to scratch the crap out of the top. But if you off-road, you just, that's part of it. You're going to get scratches. Don't worship it, drive it. So when you're done, that's what you get. You can actually choose the stance of this by using those little spacers cut at the right degree. So I'm pretty excited about this. We are going to the mountain property this weekend. I've got some hunting land out by the lake, and from where my high ground is, it's about a 2-mile ride all the way down to the lake shore, and it's really crappy, terrible, steep, rocky logging roads. So the micro pig is getting ready to have some chairs up top, taken down to the lake. I guess just for the sake of it, I'll show you. It's ugly. I know you guys are going to say, oh my God, it's really ugly in there. It's an off-road vehicle. So in the headliner, little hole cut through. I've got an extra long bolt in there that will get sawzalled off and a little rubber cap put on there. But honestly, I left those bolts long because I'm not sure yet what I want to do for stability across the top here. I'm honestly thinking of putting a piece of flat stock aluminum directly on, like thick, 1/4 inch, all the way across, because it'll still bend and roll on that radius, and then mount through it here to help distribute the weight across this softer portion of metal up here. And it's pretty strong up in here, but let's face it, it's still just the roof of a vehicle. So if I put a bunch of junk in there, maybe it'll dimple this. I don't know. I don't think so. Well, maybe I'll climb up there later and stand in it, see what it does. On the back, same principle, no big deal. It's got a little bolt sticking through there. I'm pretty satisfied with the strength of the back because the contour of the metal is just entirely different. And most of the weight of this thing is going to happen there anyway. So that's it. Like I said, if y'all have any suggestions about how to beef this up, and I'm talking do-it-yourself stuff. I'm talking about people that work inside of their own little tiny makeshift shop like that and make this stuff. I'd like your tips to be centered around that. Most of the people that watch these things like to do it themselves. So that's it. Micro Pig Volume 4, Operation Roof Rack. Yeah, stay tuned for number 5, because, oh, what's that? Yeah, that's the old rear-facing winch finally mounted up. Have more to do on that, but we will talk about that a little bit on the next one. So y'all have a great one. Happy off-roading.